My gosh.
Oh, hamstring. Sniper, take the other picture.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you can formulate opinions without having true facts.
I'm telling you, think about it logically for just a second.
Dear Reds fans, welcome back to the Zebra Zillionaires. It was a tough one yesterday.
Live from Chatterbox Sports Studios, it's Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I mean, it is like Groundhog Day around here in Hamilton, Ohio. You wake up, it doesn't matter where you are, you jump on a road from this direction or that direction to roll into Hamilton, Ohio, and I mean, not a cloud to be found in the sunny skies above.
It's gorgeous out there, Tom. Little chilly.
Well, it's supposed to warm up today, though.
But, I mean, yeah, it gets warm every day here in Hamilton.
It really does. It's amazing. It is amazing. Thank God. I mean, you get into Hamilton and you feel different. Different. We welcome you to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. I'm Thom Brennaman. We come your way 10
To 12p.
Thank you very much. Monday through Friday. That's Eastern time. Thank you, Casey, for being on. These guys over here are always sleeping. You're always...
Even with the change up.
Yeah,
I got
you.
I did. I threw you a change up, and I wanted to find out who's on their game, and I found out immediately.
You pulled the
Casey,
string.
you're on it.
Casey
I'm on
was
it.
sitting on it.
You're on it. You can find us on YouTube, Chatterbox Sports page. We also broadcast live on Twitter, now known as X. And if you'd like to join us in podcast form, by all means, just search Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman, and you're dialed in. Huge news in the NFL just moments ago. Cleveland quarterback DESHAUN Watson is out for the year with a broken shoulder. He will undergo surgery to repair it and is expected back next season. Watson had already missed 3 games this year with a sore shoulder, and some people around here were beating him up. He broke it during the game against Baltimore on Sunday and stayed in and went 14 for 14, leading the Browns to the win. So look, there are a lot of things you can say about DESHAUN Watson. You can't say he's not tough.
Yeah, maybe that was the secret.
I mean, a quarterback throwing the football 14 for 14 with a broken shoulder. I'm going to stay away from the back half of that. P.J. Walker is expected to take over as the starter. He is 2-1 in 3 starts this season. That is huge news. Huge news. And look, doesn't matter what you feel about Watson, and you have every right to feel however you want to feel about him as a guy. And a lot of people around Cincinnati are not going to give sympathy to the Browns. I get it. I understand it. But this really is a shame because when the Browns are good, it makes it exciting for football because they are one of the truly historic franchises in this game.
Yeah, historically bad.
Well, they have been. But I'm still saying it's good for the division. It's good for football. And I'm sorry to see this happen to the guy. I don't know him. I know all the stuff that he's done. But I'm just sorry to see when anybody gets hurt. The clock is a ticking, boys and girls, for tomorrow night's game, the showdown game in Baltimore. Needless to say, a huge one for your Cincinnati Bengals. If they have any chance at all to win the division and a home playoff game, they have to win this game, period. They're already 0-2 in the division, 1-4 in the conference. A loss all but guarantees those things will not happen. If they have a fighter's chance just to reach the playoffs, they probably need a win. That's a probably. It's a probably. Week 5 of last season, the Ravens beat the Bengals in a hard-fought 19-17 decision. They also have a win against Cincinnati back in Week 2 this year. Joe Burrow, he knows what's at stake, boys and girls.
Tom, I don't think we ever got that press conference. Apologize.
Bueller.
I do not
Bueller.
have it. I do not have that.
Bueller. Bueller.
Sum up what he said in the press conference, Tom. That's on us. That's on us.
What the hell are you laughing about over there?
I don't know. I don't know.
What are you laughing about over there?
I don't know.
You do know.
I do
because
not.
something made you laugh. What was it?
It was just the preposterous. This situation here is preposterous.
That was absolutely on me. Casey tasked me with doing that, Tom, and I didn't do that, so I apologize.
We move on. The NFL has suspended Texans linebacker Denzel Perriman for 3 games without pay for black first. So we just don't come back to me sitting here and looking around. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Did Trace Fowler not pay the bill around here? The Wi-Fi? Did the guy who owns this building not pay the Wi-Fi? Headlines?
So,
I mean, what's the deal?
It's
so
preposterous.
we use the same
It
Wi-Fi.
only happens in Hamilton.
We have
That's right, Tom. Only in Hamilton.
we run our internet. We have our own router and everything like that, but we use the same service as Headlines, and sometimes their internet goes out, so then ours goes out. We're working on getting new internet here, like Alta Fiber or something like that. So we got our own little
Headlines. They're tanking our internet, Tom.
Well,
they're tanking us.
Nick Mormon says maybe we should start mooching off Pawnee's Wi-Fi across the street.
I think we have
I
to.
guarantee they're paying their bills.
I think we have to.
I love it. Love it.
I mean, just what a shout out to Spectrum. Nobody does it worse than Spectrum. Shout out to you.
All right, do we have Mike Brennan yet?
No, we do not.
All right, he's going to be any second now, so I'm going to text him, in fact, to jump on again.
So
for those of you wondering who in the world Mike Brennan is, some of you old enough to remember, he was a third-round draft pick of the Bengals back in 1990. Only spent 3 years in the league, a couple years with the Bengals. Never made it as a starter or a big-time guy, anything like that. But, former All-American at Notre Dame, won a national championship there under Lou Holtz. He is originally from Baltimore, has made his living for a long time up on Wall Street, but has stayed in very close contact with the Ravens. He continues to go to all of their games, home and road. And so, this is a guy who played football, knows a lot about football, and no one knows more about the Ravens than he does. So we're going to have him come outside of maybe John Harbaugh. He might know more than Lamar. What is this? Tom has a decision to make on 11/23. Okay, this is Drew Garrison. Okay,
Yes.
Now on X last night,
yes.
Uh-oh.
he was saying that he's off on the 23rd, okay, which is the Friday before the Ohio State-Michigan game. All right? And he said that he's going to sit outside the studios here, and he's only going to be moved or leave if one of two things happen. The Hamilton police come and get him, which can be arranged, Drew. It can be arranged. Okay? One phone call. Big up here in Butler County now. One phone call. We can have that done. Or
Sheriff Jones.
he wants me to sign. That's right. It's my man, Sheriff Jones. Or I have to go sign a sign that he has made, which reads, "Free Jim Harbaugh." I got no problem signing your sign. Because you know what? I want Harbaugh on the sideline for the Ohio State-Michigan game. Now, he's got that big court thing coming up this Friday, right? He's looking for an injunction here against the original suspension from the Big Ten, and he will be heard in front of a Michigan judge. He says that he's looking forward to having the chance to talk to the judge and about this topic. He doesn't know if he's going to get that chance to actually speak, but there will be a hearing on Friday.
Tom, if you don't sign it, what I've heard is he's going to stand outside that window to your left.
This one right here.
Yeah, right there, and he's gonna picket with that sign until you sign it.
He doesn't have to worry about it. I'm happy to sign it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, free Jim Harbaugh.
Do you endorse that sentiment that we should free Jim Harbaugh?
Well, I mean, look, they're playing the victim card here. Everybody knows it. They're the laughing stock. It's one thing to do what they've done. It's another thing now to try and spin this thing. And they really are the laughing stock of the entire nation. I mean, saying you're America's team and overcoming adversity. And all those things are true, but not applied to this situation. And, I mean, they are being just hammered. And I tell you, I was really disappointed. Did you see the clip of Paul Feinbaum and Desmond Howard?
I have not seen this clip.
I got to tell you, it was just downright rude. And I think Desmond Howard seems like a great dude. He's got the best smile maybe on the planet. I mean, he really does. He lights up a room with a smile. Phenomenal player. Seems like a good dude. Probably is a good dude. I don't know him. But when he was on a split screen yesterday with Paul Feinbaum on one of the shows on ESPN, and Feinbaum starts into the whole Michigan thing about them playing the victim in this whole kind of thing, cheating, blah, 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 blah. And, I mean, Desmond Howard is just sitting there laughing the entire time. It wasn't a good look. It wasn't a good look. He had his chance at the end to kind of counter what Feinbaum was saying. Look, Feinbaum is a highly respected guy. Mm-hmm. I mean, he is the guy, especially when it comes to the Southeastern Conference. But he knows football, everybody in it. I just thought it was, I don't know. I was just very, very surprised. And, again, I don't know Desmond Howard at all. But we got a lot to talk about with this Deshaun Watson thing. Him being gone and now P.J. Walker. Is Mike ready yet? Almost, okay. And, just a couple things to think about here that we'll get to after our interview with Mike Brennan, talk about this matchup tomorrow night between the Bengals and the Ravens, one of the repercussions when you sign a player, and more times than not, it's the quarterback, okay? And in this case, it's a quarterback. And the Bengals are going to face this in 2 years from now because Burrow is still playing under his current deal this year. He will next year, and then all of a sudden everything explodes after that as far as his salary is concerned, and it's hit against the salary cap. Deshaun Watson's contract this year has not exploded. He's on the hook for $19 million. Next year, he will make, what did you tell me?
$63.9 million, and he'll make that for the next 3 years.
So $63 million. So one of the things that happens there is you can navigate through this or navigate through that, but where you get hurt is depth. Depth is where you get hurt. They had Jacoby Brissett, who did an excellent job for them, replacing Watson when he was suspended last year. They had Joshua Dobbs, traded him away. Look what he's doing now, right? Okay, so those things have happened, and now they have P.J. Walker. Now, Walker has gone 2-1 this season. So, look, he's done what they've asked him to do, and that's win games. If he wins 2 out of every 3 the rest of the way, they're going to be the division winner. If he wins 2 of every 3 the rest of the way, they win the division. All right, let's get to our buddy Mike Brennan. Used to hang out with this guy quite a bit when he first came into the National Football League with the Cincinnati Bengals 3rd-round draft pick out of Notre Dame, which he still cheerleads. He ought to have pom-poms and a cheerleading outfit on every time the Fighting Irish take the field. Michael, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, sir. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I mean, are you already fired up about tomorrow night?
Certainly. I mean, especially on the heels of that debacle on Sunday. Yes, completely fired up. It's going to be a blackout.
It is going to be a blackout tomorrow night. I didn't know that.
That's right.
All right. Okay. Well, when you say debacle on Sunday, you could have been talking about the Ravens or the Bengals because it was a debacle for both of them. But I want to start with the kind of vibe in Baltimore right now. They have gone through so many injuries, and Mike, you see every single game. They've gone through so many injuries the last couple of years. I just want to start with that a second because you played in the NFL. Do fans wonder how many Ravens can continue or why they continue to get injured?
I would have to say yes. Clearly, when you're watching the game and there's like bodies strewn across the field, every series. However, they seem to, but that's nothing new. Unfortunately, if you're a Bengal fan or a Raven fan, it's the hard way. You go from the outhouse to the penthouse. And so what I mean by that, it's like, if it's not injuries, it's penalties or it's turnovers or, division games are so hard and they go down to the last 10 seconds, 30 seconds, field goals. But, this game, especially adding additional games, the 17. That's why I think you see poor play. The guys that don't want to, or they don't play preseason, and so teams take a little longer to get up and running, and then it's really, that's the whole thing. I mean, if you ask, every single division is going to come down to who can be healthy. That's what I think, really.
Yep. Let me ask you, just from a body standpoint, because you played. Now in college football, you play on a Saturday and then play on a Thursday, but in the NFL, these guys are doing it now, and this is the week for the Ravens and the Bengals to do it. Just to the common guy like me, what does your body feel like on a Monday after you play on a Sunday, and now you're required to play 72 hours later on a Thursday night? Walk us through what your body has to endure just to get on the field for Thursday night.
I mean, the best way to describe it is like sort of a car crash. So you finish Sunday, and when you wake up Monday, you feel like you were in a car crash. And fine, you have a couple of days of light. You make yourself feel better. You do your stretching. You go get treatment. Nowadays, these guys are like, it is so much about their bodies that they're really, really tuned into their nutrition, stretching, yoga, you name it. But it's vitally important. But the fact remains, it's a contact sport. And after you've been brutalized on a Sunday, it's going to take a few days. So anymore, it's like you realize that. I think they probably were, they're not obviously getting after it in practice, but you do have to work on your fundamentals. And so it's just really, who can stay out of the training room is really, that's how it works. And it's crazy, but that's it, really.
All right, let's walk through Lamar Jackson. Clearly, they're a different team with this cat on the field. I think oftentimes it was easy to beat him up a little bit last year, not because he was hurt. I really beat him up because he didn't make the trip just to be on the sideline for the playoff game here in Cincinnati last year, when really Baltimore should have won the game were it not for Sam Hubbard going 99 yards on that fumble by Huntley down at the 1-yard line. Lamar Jackson's in that game. They win the game. What's the feeling now about Jackson? Did he have to earn some points back? He got the contract. They're playing well. He's playing well. Is it all sort of back to kumbaya with him or not so fast?
That is a really great question. And I'll answer it this way. I am probably in your camp on how you felt about that. I did as well. But I also concur that we win that game if he's there. I also think that, look, the unpleasant side of the NFL, the business side, where they need to get paid, great. You do what you got to do. However, what I would say is I really believe we're looking at a different Lamar, and I believe that now that the contract's behind him, I think watching him this season, I believe, first off, he's a consummate pro. Takes care of himself. He's a good leader. The teammates love him. But I think that when you're watching him now, he's a little bit smarter, like you tell me, but he's been like this beginning of the season, been more of a pocket passer, and which I think is tremendous upside for us, because when you take a look at we might be number one in rushing, but when we're doing it. Oh, by the way, too, we started off the season again with no running backs. Yeah. I mean, Dobbins was there and he gets hurt. So we're doing it with Gus Edwards, Lamar's number 2, Hill, and out of nowhere, Keaton Mitchell, undrafted free agent from East Carolina. Right. And so what I'm getting at is that he's not running yet and getting, putting his body up and getting, hurt. I think he's way smarter. I think, he's going to have to get rid of the ball a little bit faster because the sacks he's taking. But I think he's smarter. I think you're seeing leadership. I think he understands the game. I don't want to say this, but I'm sorry. He wasn't immature. I don't mean it that way, but I just think you're seeing a more mature, if you will, field general, but he's growing into it.
Yeah.
is what I see.
Well, I think that's fair. I mean, look, I think oftentimes we forget these guys are 23, 24, 25 years old. I mean, hell, you and I were hanging out together and we were that young. And I mean, it's not like you got it all together yet, right? If you ever get it together, in my case. But what do you got going on there? You got violence outside your house? Or is that us here in Hamilton? What do you got going on there? Yeah, New York City, man. I mean, it's like it never ends, does it?
Fifth
What the
Avenue
hell's
and
going
20th.
on up there, by the way, in New York City?
That's just a regular. That's every 10 minutes, man. That's New York City. Yeah, I don't even notice it. I don't even know what you're talking about. That's just that's it. It's the white noise in New York City.
I hear you. All right, before I let you go, I want to ask you this. Actually, there are two more things I want to ask you about. We know the whole history of the Browns leaving and coming to Baltimore, and then the Browns starting back up again. And the easiest thing in the world to say, well, that's the Ravens' biggest rival. Then you could say, well, maybe the Steelers are, because they've been the two best teams in the division for the better part of the last 15 years, right? But now all of a sudden, the last couple of years, the power has sort of shifted to Baltimore and Cincinnati. Do Ravens fans look at the Bengals and Joe Burrow more as their big rival now than maybe they do the Browns or the Steelers?
I would say that if you're from Baltimore, there's always a healthy disdain for Pittsburgh. That just is how it works. It's sort of like Bengals Browns. I would say how you just summed it up is that I don't recall anybody coming into our stadium and throwing the ball all over the field. Like the Bengals have a really good job of doing it, going back to AJ Green and eating us alive. I mean, it's grown to where it's the Bengals are the one. Look, we're always paying attention to the Steelers. That's just it. But the Bengals have gone. It's really been way more competitive. But the last 2-3 games have been decided by field goals, or things of that nature. And so, yeah, I really believe. And by the way, too, with the addition of Burrow and Chase and then Higgins and Boyd, I mean, they've always had that good offense. But then like Hendrickson and Hubbard. I mean, they just really. They've got the pieces. They've really got it going this year. They're a little bit, I think they're slow out of the gate. But I would say, obviously, birthright is the Steelers, but the Bengals are definitely right there. Yeah.
All right. Last thing I want to ask you about is, as an offensive lineman, okay, and you said it a second ago, the Ravens have the most rushing attempts. They have the most rushing yards in the NFL. Okay, and that's really with Lamar not running. As you pointed out a minute ago, I mean, I think the last 3 games, he only has 2 carries or fewer in those last 3 games. So he's not just taking off running all over the place. Now, he's averaged almost 80 yards rushing per game against the Bengals in his career, and that's including one game where he had 3 yards. So, I mean, he has run all over the Bengals when he plays. But what I'm getting at is this. And you have the Bengals who have the fewest rushing attempts and the fewest rushing yards. And I asked Anthony Munoz this question. I've asked others this question. I'd like to get your perspective. When you are on a team and on the offensive line where it is just pass, 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 do you forget how to run block at all? I know that sounds stupid, but does it get to a point where, people are saying, well, the Bengals can't run the ball, they should never run the ball? And I argue, yesterday, it's like you're going to be a crummy free throw shooter if you don't practice your free throws, right? If you never practice running the ball and hitting people and going after them instead of backing up, how are you going to get any better at it? I mean, am I just crazy here on this thinking?
No, you have a very good point. The thing about the run blocking is like you get a feel and you start wearing your opponent down, and then okay, hey, keep coming on this side. The double teams are working here, or the pulling. And then it's really because in the NFL, you cannot, it's hard enough, but when they start stacking the box, they know damn well you're just going to throw. You just can't be one-dimensional. So as soon as you end up being one-dimensional, it's like the other team's feasting on you. To your point about the run blocking, I would believe, I don't know if it's some recipe, but I will tell you that, yeah, it's about timing. It's about, the feel, the right play calls. And to your point, if you're just sitting there, you're pass happy offense. When it gets down and dirty, like you're going to have to prove, if you want to move the chess pieces around, you're going to have to be able to run. You got to be able to run to set up the pass in certain spots, or even like your play action, right? So I don't know about like the practice, or you don't forget, no, but it just is. It has to be a healthy complement, because if you can't run the ball in the red zone, if you get into that, look at these teams are field position and strong defenses and good run game, balanced offense, and you get into the red zone and you can't run, then you're and we're seeing that. I mean, the Ravens are in the fourth quarter. The rushing offense has disappeared. So, so that on that part, again, it's not as if you forget. It's just you have to do it because. Well, and also, but you also, working with the five guys up front, because it's not just one. Like once you get hey, we got a good rhythm here. Like let's keep going. And I think that's a lot with the play calling, just keeping on their toes, and you're getting on the edge, and then you start pounding up the middle with a Gus, and that's the thing too. Like what the thing with Lamar is that once he starts getting loose, which I believe is a tremendous upside for the rest of the season because it hasn't happened. And the other thing, well, I'll tell you what, one other little side thing, the Ravens, as you just talked about, what you just said on the O-line, well, guess what? Only 4 games has the original starting offensive line played.
Yep.
Because Stanley's been hurt 3 games, the center's been hurt 2 games, the right tackle's been hurt 3. So they've only had 4 games with the regular starters. And that's with Gus, Keaton, Mitchell. So I think it's rather fascinating, but you have to gel with those. Now, with those guys being hurt as often as they are, our backups are starters now. So that's really helpful. But I would tell you that's the importance of being able to, because you got a new guy in there, like, all right, how are you run blocking together if you have to do that? So it's, you just have to stick to it enough, but there's no real recipe.
Right. Michael, we thank you for your time, man. Enjoy the game tomorrow night. All the best.
You got it. Great to you. One thing, if I may, I just want to point out something really neat about the Ravens at this time. As your wonderful wife is a Notre Dame graduate,
yes, she is.
On this Raven team, what's really great about it is that you have Ronnie Stanley, left tackle, Notre Dame, Sam Mustipher, center, Notre Dame,
God.
Al Hamilton, Anthony Weaver, D-line coach, and then Navy SEAL Steve Claggett. And Allison Harbaugh plays women's lacrosse at Notre Dame. So go Irish, go Ravens.
Oh, my God. All right. We've had enough Notre Dame today already. I have enough Notre Dame every day of my life. Michael, take it easy, man. Thanks for the time.
Best to everybody. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks, buddy. Mike Brennan, kind enough to join us and talk. I thought, when you get the perspective of an offensive lineman, and really, fellas, it's interesting, isn't it? All I kept thinking about when he was saying that was about how the backups become starters, right? Mm-hmm. And we saw that last year with the Bengals, where they lose 3 guys going into the playoffs against the Ravens, the Bills, ultimately the AFC Championship game against Kansas City. And I think all of us agree for the first 2 games, they played really, really well. They played well, not great, against Baltimore. They played great against Buffalo, that offensive line, when they ran the ball all over the field. And then, the Kansas City game, it's Kansas City. Chris Jones was not as dominant as he was when they played during the regular season. There were some guys that did a good job. I'm just having a hard time understanding what's going on with this offensive line this year, because these are veteran, big money, big name guys. You got Orlando Brown. You got the center. You got the right guard. You got the right tackle. All of those guys are either free agents or number 1 picks. You've only got the kid at left guard. Why is this offensive line not better?
That's the question, and everyone is trying to figure out that answer, because as you have pointed out on the show so many times, they spent a king's ransom on this offensive line, because we understand that if Joe Burrow has time with the weapons that he has, this offense would be unstoppable. But it seemingly nothing's working. I saw a tweet yesterday, Tom, that over the past 3 years, the Bengals, I think, spent 22 draft picks on offensive and defensive linemen, and almost none of them have hit.
Yeah.
Almost none of them have hit. Now, it's way too early for Myles Murphy, but it's almost like there's just something wrong with the coaching staff, that coaches these offensive linemen or something. Because how can we be pulling these guys from other places that are successful and bring them into our system and it's not working? How can we consistently draft these guys that are touted prospects and we bring them into our system and it's not working? That's the question, Tom. And you look at this team and really all you can say is you guys got to play better. I mean, you talked about it with these defensive linemen yesterday. You got to pull them in and say, hey, look, you've got to play better in this game if we want to. I mean, that at this point, all you can do is look at the offensive linemen and be like, guys, we know you can play. Have some confidence in yourself and just get it done. Get it done. I don't know how you solve it other than them just playing better. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the offensive line needs to be better. At this point, again, it's not – people are going to look back at the preseason thing, oh, these guys need to play more together. And I agree to that. Certainly, right? But we're halfway through this season, and the offensive line still doesn't look like they're working together at this point. Not good. Not good for the Bengals. Tom said it. We have too many good guys up there, up on that line to not be.
Well, I mean,
They've been
got good
successful in
guys.
other places. That's
right.
That's the curious part about it. And Orlando Brown has shown at moments to be that left tackle that we thought he was.
Yes, he has.
Jonah Williams has looked actually pretty good
Yep.
on the right side this year. So it's really been the interior. And these guys played well last year, right? Except for Cordell Volson's a weird case.
Yeah, he is.
Like, he's obviously struggled this year, and he had games last year where he looked good. But the other two guys played well last year. I don't know, Tom. I just simply don't know. But it's as simple as this. If it's not figured out, this team can't do what they think they can do.
No,
They simply can't.
They can't.
We got. Before we move on,
yeah.
we do have a few super chats that we have to read.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
Jeremy's all over us. Jeremy Ward put a $2 super chat in earlier in the show. He said, "It's my birthday, y'all. Go." And then he has a word that it must not be English or something like that.
Yeah, I can't read that word either.
I can't read that word. So he says, "It's my birthday,
See,
y'all."
fellas, it's bigger than that.
Go.
Jeremy, happy birthday, young man. I hope you have a wonderful day.
And then
he did it
he sent
again.
another one.
And then he said another one, and
then
he
it
said,
just
go.
says go.
And once again, I
Now,
don't know if that's
so you
Yiddish.
lose me here, Jeremy. I was trying to make it all about your birthday. It's bigger than the Steelers thing. And then you come back with a second super chat, and it's all about the Steelers. So, all right, 1 for 2. We got another one?
That was and also
And then Drew said-
just said
Drew had a
22nd,
correction.
not-
He said he's coming on the 22nd, not the 23rd. So
Okay, because I think the 23rd is a game.
I think the 23rd is Thanksgiving, isn't it?
I don't know. Does anybody have a calendar?
a week from today, yeah, it would be a week from today would be the 22nd. So a week from tomorrow, which would be Thanksgiving, will be the 23rd.
Well, if you're standing out here a week from tomorrow, I can assure you, you won't be taken away by the police, and you won't get the sign signed.
That's right.
Because we ain't here on Thanksgiving Day.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
All
I
right.
ain't doing anything.
Okay. Now, look, we got lots to talk about with the Bengals. We got a lot of things still to get to today. But I want to talk about the DESHAUN Watson thing for a second.
Okay.
Because
Yep.
we were starting to talk, and I had said earlier about how we were talking about this in our meeting before the show, about, when you give guys these contracts, what happens in your depth? Okay? So, DESHAUN Watson is out for the year. Broken shoulder, if you didn't hear. He already had an ankle injury, even in the game the other day. And he continued to play. Went 14 for 14 in the second half. They scored 24 points. They rallied to beat Baltimore, and they're technically in first place now. Well, no, because Baltimore's played one more game. But they have a tie break over Baltimore. Let's put it that way. Now he's out. And you could have turned to Jacoby Brissett, but no doubt you weren't going to pay a backup quarterback, $2 million, whatever it was, maybe. Joshua Dobbs they trade him away. I don't know how much anybody believed in Joshua Dobbs, to be honest with you. He never showed anything in Pittsburgh that would make you think that he would be doing what he's doing now. He goes to Arizona. They're terrible. He hung in there and battled. They send him off to Minnesota. Now he's perfect, right?
Right. He's
winning games.
Right.
Right. So, but the point is that you certainly would rather have either one of those two guys than P.J. Walker. And for all I know, P.J. Walker might take him to the Super Bowl. But this is... if you're a Browns fan this morning, and look, you guys can sit here and ridicule them and make fun of them, but put yourself in our position, try to walk in their shoes. If all of a sudden you've been terrible forever like they have, and let's say like the Bengals were up until 2 years ago, right? And say that year they went to the Super Bowl. Bengals are rolling, blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden, your quarterback goes down for the year.
Tom, it's
Deflating.
Well, the weird part about this is, and we talked about the cap hit, right? He's getting paid $20 million this year. He's going to get paid $64 for the next 3 years. So this was the year that they were kind of all in, right? This was kind of the year that they shifted some things around, and they're all in. And he gets hurt, and I don't know if it derails the team. I mean, that's still a team that is, stacked almost top to bottom. And P.J. Walker's already won a game with them. He hasn't looked very good. But I don't know if it derails. Certainly the ceiling's not as high. But – yeah, the Browns broke every unwritten rule that owners had in efforts to get a guy to get them over the ledge because they had been so bad for so long.
Yep.
What was the unwritten rule in the NFL, Tom? You don't guarantee a lot of money. You don't guarantee because once one person does it, it blows up the market, and that's exactly what the Browns did because they were so hungry to start winning. They knew they had a good roster other than the quarterback. They didn't believe in Baker Mayfield. They said, hey, we're going to get a guy that's been a Pro Bowler, a guy that's been an All-Pro, a guy that has taken the Texans into the playoffs, a guy that had a lead over the Kansas City Chiefs when they won the Super Bowl, all those things. So what they do, they say, we're going to bring you in, and on top of that, we're going to guarantee you money to be our quarterback. They broke every rule because they were so hungry to be good in this league. They know that you need to have a quarterback to win. That's shown. And here we are in year 2 of it. He's only played 12 games.
Yep. Due to the suspension, and then this year he had
With
already
injury.
missed 3 games due to injury.
And now the cap hit starts hitting, right?
Yep.
Starting next year.
Yep.
So they are just in such a tough spot going forward. And yeah, they've got all these pieces. And yeah, they'll still compete in this tough AFC North. But it's just so tough that they finally get it. And you do feel a little bit for the Cleveland Browns in this scenario. But all in all, it just seems like what happens to the Browns year after year.
Now, without sitting there saying, boy, I'm glad the guy's hurt. Nobody's going to say that. This is a positive development for the Bengals, however.
Sure.
Because, and you're allowed to say that, right, Casey? I mean, this is one of those where, look, you don't want to ever see anybody get hurt. We've said that already, and I really mean that. I like seeing everybody play with their best players. There's nothing worse. It's like all the injuries we're talking about for this game tomorrow night. Now, Hendrickson was moving around at practice last night. I mean, doing some drills. He looked good. I mean, he could move. I mean, how much pain he is in or how effective he's going to be. And, man, what a huge matchup that is without Staley playing left tackle. And we know that for sure tomorrow night. That Staley, their starting left tackle stud, is not going to play. And so to have Hendrickson over there instead of your guy, Asai, look, that's a huge potential matchup in this game. So it's great. But you want to see the best players play and play against each other. And we're not going to see that tomorrow night. No Higgins. Looks like no Hubbard. No Staley. No Humphrey, maybe. But big blow to the Brownies, and it does help the Bengals.
Yeah, Tom. I mean, not to spoil my stink list, but I actually had the Browns up quite a bit until this development happened. And now
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it necessarily is a good thing for the Bengals because I think their biggest issue is just beating their defense.
Yep.
I don't know if I know last time we played them that we struggled to stop the run, but they're without Nick Chubb for the remainder of this season, and I don't know. I'm just not as worried about that matchup. So I don't know if it's necessarily a great development for the Bengals because maybe P.J. Walker turns it around. I don't know. Maybe they figure something out there with who else they got there? DTR?
Yeah, DTR. But this is still a team that is well in striking distance of making the postseason. They're set up. They're 6-3 already, and this is a tough AFC. And that they've already won a game with P.J. Walker against who was it again?
The 49ers.
Yeah, against a really good team and
That's
an
right.
undefeated 49ers team. So
That's
this team
right.
can still win games. Yeah, does that make a shot at them at potentially they were looking at winning the division for the first time in their franchise's history? And That seemingly isn't going to happen anymore. But they can still scrap in. And do you want to play the Cleveland Browns?
Dude, I'm not going to rule them out to win the division.
Oh, I am now.
I'm not ruling them out.
Oh, it's over.
Not with that defense.
No,
you create short fields. You attack the quarterback. You don't let the other team score a lot. Unlike the Bengals, the one thing they can do and will do is run the football. I mean, Ford only got it 17 times last week, went over 100 against the Ravens. Well, I guarantee you those running numbers are going to increase in Cleveland because they have got an offensive line. DeJuan Jones has taken over, had another guy take over, playing great football according to Pro Football Focus. Look, I'm not saying they can't win the division. You're saying they can't.
They do have a very easy schedule.
They do, but it doesn't matter because if you don't have a quarterback, you're not going to win games. And I'm very sorry. Yeah, P.J. Walker did win a game against the 49ers. A blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. He has 1 touchdown, 5 picks, and he's completing passes at a 49% clip, Tom. There's absolutely zero chance. The irony of this all, if they kept Baker Mayfield, they'd be in a much better spot right now. They'd be in a significantly better spot than if they gave
Well,
Deshaun
they ran
Watson
him out of
money.
town.
They did, and it's unfortunate, but I think Baker Mayfield's significantly better than Deshaun Watson at this moment. Deshaun Watson has not been a good quarterback since he got to Cleveland. He's been very bad, mediocre. I think last week was really the only good game he's had. I'd have to go back and look, but he hasn't been good. He hasn't been good. So I did say they could win 2 playoff games. That's now dead. The Browns are done. P.J. Walker, they might get in the playoffs because of their schedule, but they're certainly not winning a game.
Oh, so you've now done a total about
Well,
things.
no, but they don't have a
You
quarterback
were the guy
now.
that said
They don't
they
have a
were
quarterback.
going to the AFC Championship game as recently as 24 hours ago. So you're saying that is DUN done?
Done. He's completing passes at a 49% clip, Tom. 49%. They've already lost Nick
Okay,
Chubb.
but is there?
Well,
Let me
they
ask
don't
you
need
this
Nick
now a
Chubb.
second
God,
before
the
you
running back thing.
start jumping into heavy stats. And I'm not a heavy stats guy. There are some that blow me away and you can't ignore them. But I don't get all wrapped up in it. I just care, did you win or did you lose? All right? That's all I care about. Don't you have to give P.J. Walker a little bit of wiggle room here now?
No.
Listen, he was a big star in whatever it was, the XFL and all that sort of stuff. Journeyman guy. His story has been well told. It'll really be told in the next couple of weeks. They got the Steelers on Sunday. But don't you have to give him, read a little bit of rope here now? He stepped in. Big expectations for this team. He had not started in the NFL, right?
Right.
I mean, he's with a new team, a new offense. He goes from being a third-string guy to the second-string guy because they gave the second-string guy a chance and they didn't want him in there anymore, the young guy Thompson.
Yep.
All right. I mean, he's going to be nervous, right? Stepping out there for sure. So, I mean, he only plays 3 games. I don't care what his completion percentage is. I don't care if he won 1 for 15. They won the games, 2 out of 3.
I care. I care about it. Listen, you can't go up there as a quarterback in the National Football League and complete less than half of your passes. You can't do it. You might win the game, but let's be very clear. You're not winning the game because of you. You're just there. You're just a part of it. You're 13th man. You're the guy who's backup to the backup. Nobody. I mean, you've contributed nothing. And that's what P.J. Walker's done. He's contributed nothing. So, the big stats, I don't know what you're talking about that. I mean, I don't think it's a giant stat to complete half your passes.
No, it's not.
When your touchdown to interception ratio is 1 to 5 in 3 games, it's not good.
It's not good. I'm
It's
just
not
saying,
good.
but you had to give him a little rope. And while you gave him some rope and he didn't play well or play great, they still won 2 out of 3 games. Now, you can say that's because of everybody else surrounding him, and that's fine, and you're probably right. But now, all of a sudden, he's stepping into a very different situation than when he stepped in 4 weeks ago. 4 weeks ago, he's standing over there with a clipboard and a baseball hat for every game. And all of a sudden, dude, you're the starter, okay? They go out and win 2 out of 3. He goes back to the bench last week when Watson returns. Now he's walking in 3 games under his belt. He knows he's the guy.
Yeah.
He knows he's a guy. This is the dream of a lifetime come true. We talked about guys' dream of a lifetime now.
Sure.
This is it for P.J. Walker. I mean, he can all of a sudden go from being some journeyman guy to, if he takes the Browns into the playoffs and plays well, he'll be starting somewhere next year.
No doubt about it. I mean, he'll start getting paid. Here's the thing to benefit P.J. Walker is when he's just a stopgap, right? When Deshaun's week to week, you're running Deshaun Watson's offense, right?
Yep.
Probably a limited
That's
playbook,
right.
but you're running Deshaun Watson's offense. I don't know what P.J. Walker's skill set is, truthfully. I have no idea. I don't know how it compares to Deshaun Watson's. But when Deshaun Watson isn't coming back, that's not an option. Now you can remold the playbook to P.J. Walker's skill set. And once again, don't know what that is. But, yeah, they have an opportunity here to show, hey, all the tape that all the teams have on us, let's throw it out. Listen, we're going to run the ball. We're going to get P.J. Walker some open receivers here and there. We're going to redo this entire offense. And listen, this is the time to just rebirth your season with a new quarterback. This is a good team, Tom. This is a really good team that has a bad schedule. This team is going to win games down the line. You said it best. If they win 2 out of 3 games for the rest of the year, they win this division.
No doubt about it. No doubt. Now, let me ask you this. We were throwing this around a little bit, right? And I know we got the weather and the locals at 11 coming up shortly, and we're going to do our Power 5, both in college and pro football, coming up later in the show. You have your stink list today, right? Mm-hmm. Be interesting to see where the Brownies are. And by the way, when we do our Power 5, and I will say this again, I'm basing mine, and apparently you guys are not basing yours. I'm just basing mine on today. Mm-hmm. I'm not putting the Watson thing into play until next week, okay? I'll take that into account next week. I'm talking about as we sit here right now. So, more on that later. But let me ask you this.
Okay.
There have been some people in the chat. There has been chat this season about teams considering going out and signing Phillip Rivers, right? That Rivers might have sort of an itch out there, right? I mean, he's been in the playoffs, never won the Super Bowl. I mean, you talk about a gamer, man. I mean, that dude is a gamer. Mm-hmm. And look, Tom Brady's still out there. Would he want to play again? Doesn't look like it. But could you imagine if the Browns picked up the phone and called Thom Brady and he decided to come play for the Cleveland Browns down the stretch, get that team into the playoffs and make a run at the Super Bowl? Thom Brady. Would you be on the horn today, if you ran the Cleveland Browns? Would you be on the horn today with either Tom Brady or Phillip Rivers? Yay or nay?
Tom, if I was the Cleveland Browns, all the P.J. Walker talk that we just said, I'd throw it aside and I'd say, hey, listen, I'd be calling everyone from Tom Brady to Phillip Rivers to Joe Namath and saying, hey, you want to come quarterback the Cleveland Browns this year? Tom, we talked about this in the pre-show. If Tom Brady comes back, and this is such a wild hypothetical, but if Tom Brady comes back and leads the Cleveland Browns to the Super Bowl coming in midseason, we wouldn't be talking about Tom Brady as the greatest football player of all time. We'd be talking about Tom Brady as the greatest athlete of all time if he did that, because that would be one of the most miraculous stories in sports ever. 47-year-old, however old he is now,
right,
coming back and leading a team that had never won a division to the Super Bowl would be the most incredible thing ever.
Would you be on the horn today? Yay or nay? Right now, Elliot, Zebra.
Yeah.
Would you be calling either one of those guys, or you'd be like, man, these dudes are in their 40s. They've not been trained. Although I think it's safe to say that knowing Brady, that he's in incredible shape. Now, football shape, maybe not. But would you be at least exploring the chance?
Well, I'd be looking, like Reed just said, I'd try to find any quarterback with a usable arm because that person is definitely better than P.J. Walker. Saying that, Phillip Rivers towards the end was not a good quarterback. Phillip Rivers, when he was with the Colts, was a disaster. If I remember correctly, in their playoff game, he had to be subbed out of the game for a Hail Mary from 40 yards away because he can't throw it 40 yards anymore.
Okay.
So Phillip Rivers is gone. Tom Brady, yeah, but is it realistic? No, it's not realistic at all to have Tom Brady come back to the Cleveland Browns. So no, I mean, if you're going to try to find somebody, you look around the free agent room, and I guarantee you somebody is better than P.J. Walker. It's just not Phillip Rivers.
What about you, Case?
I didn't realize.
What'd you think about it?
I mean, I would be calling all those guys. I'd be calling Tom. I'd be calling Philip. Be calling. I saw Drew Brees earlier.
What about Matt Ryan?
Matt Ryan. Peyton Manning.
What about Cam Newton?
Peyton Manning hasn't
Cam
played in
Newton.
9 years,
not
8
Peyton
years.
Manning. What
Yeah,
about-
but it's worth a chance. Like
What-
any of those guys, I would be giving a call to.
What about Cam Newton?
Cam Newton, yeah. I'd be giving a call to any of the free agent quarterbacks just to see what you can get. I mean, it can't be much worse.
Tom, do you know how many kids Philip Rivers has? I think he's a little busy right now. Do you know how many kids he has?
He's got like 12 or something, doesn't
He's
he?
got 10. Philip Rivers has 10 children.
Oh,
God bless him. Good for him.
I got one for you, Tom.
Marriage is going strong still. Yeah.
I guess.
Why don't they call Colin Kaepernick? Get him back.
Yes.
See, you got
yes.
hand the
yes.
ball off.
Now we're talking.
See,
Now we're talking.
Now we're talking.
This is where we've gone off
More
the rails.
controversy.
It was going to happen sooner or later.
Colin Kaepernick has been to one more Super Bowl than Philip Rivers. I'll tell you that.
Has. Yes, he has.
So I don't know. I think Colin Kaepernick would be a great choice for Cleveland.
Hey, they don't care about controversy
The
at all.
second you
They'll
guys say
invite
that,
it.
the
They
chat-
invite it.
Another great point.
Second you guys say that, the chat blows up. People want to go down now the political road, and we're not going down there. We're not taking
No
debate.
politics.
We're not taking
no
debate.
politics.
Well, they'll drift in every now and again, but not right now. Okay, it's time for Elliot to tell us what's going on here in a second about the weather. We're going to have more talk about tomorrow night's game, Bengals v. Ravens. The college football playoff stuff. Georgia now number 1. Ohio State 2. Big hearing for Jim Harbaugh on Friday of this week. And we have our Power 5 in both the NFL and college football. Plus, you have your top 5. Do you
Top
not?
5, Tom.
What's the topic today?
I opened it up to
Yes,
the
you did.
Twitter
I voted.
world. What'd you vote for?
It doesn't matter. Go ahead.
The chat picked that it'd be about the city of Baltimore, the top 5.
That
things.
was the winner.
I believe it was. Yeah, that was the winner. I was hoping that it'd be Drew Sample's top 5 plays, but the city of Baltimore
I
won.
voted for the other one. What was the other one?
America's team.
Yes,
Top
that's
5
what I
America's
wanted.
team.
That's what I wanted.
Correct.
America's team.
That would have been a good one because
Yeah.
Michigan is certainly America's team. They value everything that America values.
All right. Big values to my right. I mean, this guy's all over the chat today. I don't know what the hell is going on here, Elliot, but I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you,
Take
Tom.
it away, my friend.
Yeah, listen, today's a great day weather-wise. It's a little chilly, but that's what you get when you come to winter. So no one's surprised by it. I woke up, had to defrost the windshield, but I'm happy to report, again, the heat is still working after I paid a preposterous $624 to repair it. Now, granted, saying that, it's still chilly. You still want to wear a jacket, but the good news is, again, the sun's out. If the sun's out, the guns are out. How about that, Reed? You like that saying? That's
Love
a popular
that.
saying.
Love that.
Other than that, I don't care. I mean, the weather, this sucks. I've been roasted in the chat all day long, and I'm sick and tired of it. I don't want to hear anything. Everett started this nonsense, and now I'm locked in here. Commotion in the chat. Just commotion in this room right now. But yeah, that's it. Weather, again, if you want to check your phone, blah, 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 do it. 40-something degrees, 50 degrees, who gives a shit? I don't care. Weather's whatever. If you want to tune into the news, spend 30 minutes of your time watching that garbage, you can go ahead and do so. Other than that, I'm going to throw it over to Reed. Watch this transition, Casey. You ready for this? Ooh, it's the ghost of Ronald Reagan. Ooh, how's the weather, Elliot? What was the president I did?
James Madison.
What was? Oh, I've got to remember. I'm James Madison. Let's do a debate. You as Ronald Reagan, me as James Madison. Let's riff about something. What should we riff about? What about Gold Star Chili? Gold Star Chili.
Okay, go ahead.
So this would be if James Madison and Ronald Reagan went to Gold Star. I'm James Madison and Gold Star Chili sucks. What do you think, Ronald? Ooh, we've got really good burgers and chili and cheese and milkshakes. I went to the Gold Star here in Hamilton, and it looked like it's been vacated for 25 years. What a horrible place. Send it back over to the real Reed, not Ronald Reagan. This is Reed, not Ronald Reagan.
Whoa, did you guys see a ghost was in here? That was spooky. So super spooky.
What a stupid bit.
What a stupid bit. Casey, get us with the ads.
Yeah, so the Bengals Report is brought to you by Encore Technologies. Encore Technologies provides IT solutions for a data-centered world. With the suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing modules to improve efficiency and
Productivity.
you can visit encore.tech. The path to innovation begins here. And then we have this lovely water, Pawnee water, made right here in Hamilton, Ohio. Uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing that other brands use. The result, a healthy alkaline water. Some say the best tasting water in the world. You can visit Pawnee Water at PAHHNIwater.com to see where you can buy this great tasting water.
It's good.
It's great water.
I drink Pawnee water to improve efficiency and productivity.
Oh, my God.
Tom?
You better watch that sport. You know, you could probably just stand that thing up.
You think?
Stand up on its own.
$80 at Burlington Coat Factory.
You gotta love
Tom.
that. Nothing wrong with that.
That's a good deal.
Nothing wrong with
That's
that
a
at
good
all. Nothing wrong with that at all.
I gotta go get size for a wedding here soon. Speaking of suits and stuff, Fulci's.
Well, I don't know what's going on with the zebra today. There's just
Yeah, there's a lot of talk in there.
There's a lot
and
going on today. You know, what's the deal?
What is the deal?
I'm not going to talk about it, Tom. If they want to be trolls about it, they can go ahead and feel free to do so. The people I loosely associate myself with, unfortunately, they're being brought into this chat against their will, and that's it's really unfortunate. What Everett and Sir Boy and all the other people in this chat are doing to me right now. I'm a victim. The person I loosely associate myself with, also a victim. So again, you guys can be a bully all you want. I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to take it.
You are America's victim.
I am.
But you do have a super chat. Andrew Seller.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Andrew Seller paid $10 to say, Elliot, you are my hero. You are Andrew Seller's hero.
Andrew, thank you very much. You are my hero. Thank you very much for keeping our lights on.
Why is he your hero? What
why is
makes
he your
him
hero?
your hero? You just said it.
That's
I
a
mean,
good question.
right?
Because he's my good friend Andrew. So Andrew supports me. I support him. I'm his hero. He's my hero. It's a little back and forth there, Tom.
Okay.
That's what it is.
That's very nice, Andrew.
very kind.
That's very, very nice. Okay.
I love Mr. Mo.
Basically, tomorrow's entire show. My dad will be joining us tomorrow. Some of you asked yesterday, and forgive me for not addressing that. Actually, I think I did. I told you that, he had a hull issue with the ship, and they had to get that thing patched up while he was already at sea. Winds and the rain were brutal. Somehow, he was able to sail through it. I don't know how he did it, but he did it. So he's going to join us tomorrow.
He's on another cruise?
Well, it's one he's trying to. He was going to try to sail by himself across the English Channel, and before really it got going, there were some issues, and so he's back. He'll be back tomorrow. We'll ask him about it tomorrow.
Some programming notes before we.
Please do save us here.
Some programming notes is after the show today, we will be doing box lunch for members. Elliot will be hosting. Also, we will be launching a video that Kyle Caskey did, doing a preview of the Baltimore Ravens game. So that'll be on our channel. It's not a premiere or anything like that. Just go to our videos and you'll be able to watch that at 12 o'clock is when that is scheduled to drop. So.
And for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of next week, we will have no show. But on Wednesday, it'll be the premiere of the second round of the second match against Sean and I. So
correct. So we will have a show off the bench. It'll be Monday, Tuesday.
Golf video on Wednesday.
Yep.
Thanksgiving Thursday. Football on Friday. Black Friday.
I will not be here next week, too.
Reed will not be here next week.
There's also Mac and JT, and then there's a Red Show at 9:30.
There's a Red Show
So
tonight.
wait a minute, everybody slow down for a minute. You're overwhelming me. My eyes are spinning around. All right?
There's a lot going on here at Chatterbox.
So let's do this.
Let's break it down.
Let's do this, okay, on a timeline.
Okay.
All right, so let's keep it simple. Simple mind, simple guy, okay?
Yeah.
Today, we have boxed lunch for members.
Starting at 12 o'clock when this show ends.
When this show ends, then what?
We also are launching a video that's not live or anything. It's not a premiere, but it will be on our YouTube channel. You can watch it whenever. Caskey's Clicker is doing a preview of the Baltimore Ravens game.
Okay, so you just go to Chatterbox.
Correct. It's on our YouTube channel.
Okay, all right.
At what time, Casey, tonight?
The clicker?
No,
Or
Mac
Mac and
and
JT's at 7:30.
So at 7:30, there is Mac and JT. That'll get over all the NFL schedule.
That's tonight.
That is tonight.
All right.
And then at 9:30, we are doing
Another
Chatterbox.
tonight.
Correct. We are doing Chatterbox Reds.
Wow.
Yes.
Chatterbox Reds.
Yeah. I mean, Tom, we're pumping out content like it's
I'm
nothing.
telling you, man. It's unbelievable. Drew
And
Garrison, you closed the company when I planned to come. Tom is scared. Drew, it's Thanksgiving. Drew, I love you, brother. I don't like that you root for Michigan. I love you. But come on now. It's Thanksgiving.
What do you think is going to be the subject of conversation at Jim Harbaugh's Thanksgiving this year? What do you think they're going to talk
Well, I
about?
think it all
they
depends
eat
on how
turkey?
it's going to go. I think it all depends on how it's going to go with this coming Friday. This is a big deal Friday. You know, he's looking to get an injunction from a judge in Michigan that will overrule the penalty that was handed down by the Big Ten. 3-game suspension, he can't coach. So that meant the game the other day against Penn State. That means this weekend on the road at Maryland. And it means, of course, the following week for the granddaddy of them all, Ohio State v. Michigan. Right now, he is not allowed to coach any of those 3 games. So he's looking for help from the judicial system to change that and try and be on the sideline this Saturday and naturally moving forward the following week against Ohio State. Next Thursday, is that what you're asking me? Next Thursday, the conversation around?
Yeah.
There's only one topic next Thursday at the Harbaugh family gathering. Only one.
How the Bengals beat the Ravens.
That will be a very small part of it. The other 99.9% will involve the Buckeyes v. Michigan. I'm not surprised that Georgia leapfrog. We talked about it yesterday. I'm not surprised they leapfrog Ohio State after they just tore Ole Miss apart. And even though Ohio State played great, I mean, we've said on this show all along, Georgia's number one until they've won 28 in a row, until somebody beats them.
Do you think? I once again, we're trying to get in the heads of these guys that do this. Do you think that was a ploy? And you know, Georgia's once again deservedly so to be number one. But when Alabama and Georgia play in the SEC championship game, which
that's already a done deal.
which is looking like it's going to be it, and Alabama beats Georgia in the SEC championship
Wow.
game. If that happens, what the heck do they do?
You know, it's so interesting you say that because there's that little thing on ESPN where you can do a playoff predictor and
Correct.
you click for a different team. I clicked last night and I was absolutely stunned. I did the thing you just pointed out. I said that Georgia wins out rest of the season, loses to Alabama in the SEC championship game. And you can pull it up maybe right now if you've got it on there. It was a very, very surprisingly low percentage that they would be in the top 4. Now, the reason if I had to bet on that, and also, by the way, I played the same game with Alabama. They went out, beat Georgia in the SEC championship. Their chances of making the playoff were 97%. Okay? Georgia losing a game in that SEC championship, what was it? It was low.
I don't know what it is. I'm trying to do it right now. Trace brought this up earlier this week. If Georgia lost to Tennessee this week, right? If Georgia plays Tennessee this week, if they lost to Tennessee and then beats Alabama in the SEC championship game, they'd have a better chance of making the college football playoff than if they beat Tennessee this week and lose to Alabama.
Well, there's a reason for that. The reason is that because you still have 4 other teams that are undefeated. That's the reason why. And look, you and I have talked about this before, and I think it's going to be fascinating. I mean, if Florida State and Washington win out, and you've got the Pac-12 and a really bad ACC, okay? If they win out, Ohio State or Michigan, barring total disasters this weekend, one of those two is going to be undefeated, okay? So then you start looking at if Alabama were to win the SEC championship game and they beat Georgia, The SEC champion has to go to the football playoff. But I was stunned that when you just do it with Georgia, their chances really dropped much further than I thought they would. If there's any team that deserves a benefit of the doubt of being in that top 4 with a loss, it's Georgia.
If Georgia loses the SEC championship game to Alabama, they go 12-1. Their chances to make the college football playoff are 27%.
That's what I was stunned. I couldn't believe it.
Yep. If they do the opposite, they lose to Tennessee this week and then win the SEC championship game, 12-1, but SEC champions, they have an 80% chance to make it, which I think we could all agree that if you looked at which loss was a better loss, it would certainly be losing to Alabama in the SEC championship game. It proves the point that it doesn't matter how many losses you have, it's when you lose. And they would have a chance to recoup after losing this week, win a game against Georgia Tech and no one cares about. Then they get a big win over Alabama and boom, they're back in. It's silly. And once again, if Ohio State, right, if they lose to Michigan,
right,
their chances to make the college football playoff aren't very good, right? But if they lost, I don't know, to Penn State 4 weeks ago, and they win all the games and stuff like that, their chances of making the college football playoff are way higher. And it's just a matter of when you lose, not how you lose and who you lose to.
Well, I mean, the other part of this whole thing, again, it's fascinating. You talk about Alabama. We've brought this up before. Texas beat Alabama this year. It's the only game Alabama's lost at home in their last 55 games. Texas beat them. Now, if they played today, I certainly believe Alabama would win that game. I saw Texas in person over the weekend. Sad news, they've lost their star running back for the year with a knee injury. They're good. They're not Alabama. I know they beat them, but Alabama was they had a freshman quarterback who was trying to figure it out. It was the second game of the year, whatever it is. Now, all of a sudden, the kid's in the race for the Heisman Trophy. But I only bring this up because at the end of the day, they still beat them. But if Texas wins a Big 12 title and Alabama wins the SEC title, this is why these rankings, they may not ultimately matter right now, but it puts a committee in a little bit of a bind on where they're going to go here. Now, you can make the argument if Alabama beats number 1 Georgia, they should leapfrog Texas. And I could live with that argument. But could you imagine if you're a Texas fan, you beat Alabama, you win out, you're Big 12 champ, and the team that you beat that also has 1 loss is in the playoff ahead of you?
They should have an emergency meeting and just say, all right, we're going to do an 18 playoff this year.
But you're saying it's run by Kirk Herbstreit.
Kirk Herbstreit.
I'm saying that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And who else? Well, it's Chick-fil-A and Dr. Pepper that they're eating and drinking.
Yeah. But it's mainly Kirk Herbstreit. He runs the whole thing. It'll be interesting. If Michigan loses to Ohio State, they're done, right? There's no chance
they're done.
There's
chance.
no chance for them.
Those Big Ten teams.
If they beat Ohio State, would Ohio State be done?
Well,
So
if you look at there, it's still
this,
a high percentage.
If they go 1 loss and they didn't make the play, they say they have a 40% chance.
Yeah, I mean, that's still better than Georgia's with a loss.
Georgia's is a 27,
right? I mean, you would need some help. Some other things would have to happen. And look, at the end of the day, like Jolly points out, I mean, there is still plenty of chaos to go left in this whole thing because you're going to have some unbelievable games coming up here in the next. I mean, just look at this weekend. Doesn't Washington play at Oregon State this weekend? Oregon State's ranked 10th in the country. Now, I don't know if they're any good or not. I haven't watched them play.
Right.
But they have some good wins. They're at home, and they're 8-2 on the year. All right? If they get through that one, Washington's going to have to play Oregon again for the Pac-12 championship game, right? Oklahoma lost for a second time. They're done. But still, if Oklahoma plays Texas again, they've already beaten them once. I wouldn't put it past Oklahoma to beat Texas. You know, you got Georgia, Alabama. You got Georgia, Tennessee this weekend in Knoxville. You got Ohio State and Michigan. So, and look, the one team I always leave out, and they're ranked now number 10. I think Oregon State's 9. Number 10 is now Louisville. They've lost 1 game.
To a bad Pittsburgh
team.
Okay, but that was okay. All right. It happens. I get it.
UC beat them.
But, you know, Florida State looked good last week against Miami. Miami's 6-4. I mean, they looked okay. Louisville could beat Florida State.
If Louisville wins if they win out and win the ACC championship, they have a 10% chance of making the college football playoff.
Yeah, they're not going to make it because they're not going to put them. There are too many teams with one loss that are already at one loss or going to have one loss between now and then, and they're not going to leapfrog Texas or Alabama or Ohio State or Michigan or Oregon or any of those teams that have a loss.
How serious would we be taking Louisville if they hadn't lost that game?
Oh well, yeah, they'd be right there.
Yeah, but would they?
They'd be sixth.
Would they?
Yeah, they'd be sixth.
They'd be over Alabama and Oregon
they'd be
and
undefeated.
Texas.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know. I think they'd be in the same spot. I think they'd be a very similar spot.
I'm just having a hard time understanding, and I know it's eyeball test, but I'm really having a hard time understanding how Florida State is ahead of Washington. I don't get it. I mean,
More complete team.
well, I mean, maybe they are. I don't know. But when I just look at who they've played and who they've beaten, the best win by far on Florida State's schedule was the season opener against LSU. Well, now all of a sudden LSU, Jaden Daniels is much better now than he was then. But they've lost 3 games. Washington has 3 wins against top 25 teams, including a win over Oregon, who right now is ranked as the best one-loss team in the country. You got the top 5 undefeateds, and then next is Oregon. They're ahead of Texas. They're ahead of Alabama. And Washington beat them.
And this is where the college football committee, and this is where college football loses me a little bit, because it's that committee. It's based on no metric. It's based on what these guys believe. So whatever Herb Street wakes up in the morning feeling, if he's got a little itch on his thigh, it's like, all right, well, you know what? I'm feeling like Washington's better today, so they're going to get in. And that's honest to God, that's what I believe happens. So it's not based on any metric. It's not based on your greatest win. It's about the eye test, and the eye test is stupid because it's subjective.
Yeah. And there's no doubt it's been brought up in the chat, and there's some guys spot on this deal. Because, look, you can sit there and talk about Herb Street and all that kind of stuff, and it's funny to talk about. But Randy and Nick Mormon and others, look, at the end of the day, make no mistake about it. If the committee had to pick 4 teams, and I'm not going to agree with them on all 4, but if you want TV bonanza, okay, you've got both Ohio State and Michigan.
That's what I want as a non-college football fan.
You've got Ohio State and Michigan both in there. You've got Alabama or Georgia, and you have Texas. That's what they want.
All right.
Mark it down.
Mr. Mo put a $5 super chat in. He says, if you have undefeated Big Ten champ,
Yep.
FSU.
Oh, can you imagine the ratings if FSU and Washington are in there? Go ahead.
Not good. FSU, Washington, 1-loss Texas or 1-loss Alabama. You have to put Texas in, or else the games played don't matter.
Let me read that again now. You have undefeated Big Ten
Big Ten champ,
Ohio State
FSU.
or Michigan. Okay, then you have Florida State, I'm assuming undefeated.
Yep,
Washington undefeated. And then 1 loss. Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
You have to put Texas in.
Or wait a minute now.
1-loss Texas or 1-loss Alabama. Texas beat Alabama.
No. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, it would be definitely 1-loss Texas, for sure. Because Oregon would
know.
fall out of the mix if Washington stays undefeated.
I don't know. It's so funny that we are maybe getting our best case study into what the playoff committee truly believes in the final year of the 14 playoff.
Yep.
Like, if this happened 5 years ago, it'd be so interesting to see what do they truly favor. Like, what do they want? Because this is by far the craziest scenarios that we have had in the college football playoff era.
Yep.
But we're going to have this brilliant case study on what it truly takes to get in there, what they favor, what they like, and then they go to a 12-team playoff next year, so it's all for naught. So we finally understand it all. We finally get behind the mythos, and then boom, 12-team playoff, which is good. I've said it before. I wish they would call an emergency meeting and just go, hey, we're going to play another game. We're going to have an 18 playoff.
Well, one thing they'd be able to do is get a huge paycheck if they could pull that stunt off. They won't, but if they could. All right. Are we ready for top 5?
Let's do it, Tom. Where
We
do you want to
always
start?
go in order. Reed always sets the tone.
Okay.
Always.
Good,
He
bad, or
has to
indifferent.
go first.
Lead off.
Then
Lead
Elliot
off
will
guy.
go because you don't do a top 5, Casey. You have your stink list.
That's right.
So in order, it will be Reed, Elliot, who, again, just continues to blow this thing up. And then me. We'll start with what, Casey?
College.
College football. Here we go. This ought to be interesting.
Well, yeah, this is why you come over to this side of the room.
That's
because
right.
of our college football takes.
Yep.
This is my top 5. Coming in at number 1 is America's team. Everyone knows that America is
pick.
number 1,
Oh,
Tom.
my God.
That's what we all know in this
a good
country.
pick.
So America's team, of course, they got to be number 1. Michigan
Brutal.
Wolverines, they look damn good.
Brutal.
They look very, very
Brutal.
good. Coming in number 2, the back-to-back national champs, Georgia. They've got a surprisingly tough game this week. Tennessee on the road. It's only about a 10-point spread, so we'll see how that one shapes out.
That's going to be a good game, I think.
I'm right there with you.
I think it's going to be a good game. Go ahead.
Coming in at number 3 is a team that, little fraudy. They haven't looked very good at many points this year, but it's Ohio State, the Buckeyes. Most people are talking
Did
about.
you say fraudy?
Yeah, they haven't looked real good, Tom. They had a bad game against Michigan State this past Saturday.
Really bad game.
Yep, didn't look very good. But they have a top 5 defense in the country, so that's why they're number 3. You might be saying, Reed, where's Washington? Where's FSU? Where's Texas?
Where are they? Where are they, Reed? Where are they?
That's the question. And if you're asking me who I think the top 5 teams in the country are, which is the point of this power rankings, I think you got to put number 4 at Alabama because they have looked damn good over the past few weeks. Maybe, honestly, the best team over the past month that we've seen in college football.
I have to tell you, you have put a lot of thought into this week's Power 5 because, most of the time it's bluffed in and nonsense. But you know what? If you just went by eye test, I mean, you got Oregon in there,
They've
even
looked
though
very
they
good.
lost
They got
to
the Heisman
Washington.
favorite.
Yeah, you got Alabama in there. It's interesting. All right,
Let's go.
Zebra,
So,
Let's
Elliot?
go.
Zebra, Bueller.
All right, so here we go. We have Georgia in the number 1 spot. Obviously, they're the best team in the nation. Number 2, we have Florida State. Listen, the Seminoles are here to play. They play in a very, very tough conference. I'd argue the toughest conference, right? The ACC, shout out. We have Michigan. It's America's team. They're number 3 if they get the big one over Ohio State this year.
You just blasted them on the show 2 days ago.
No, I didn't
ahead.
blast them.
Go ahead.
No, I didn't. They're America's team. Well, I did blast them, Tom, but then Harbaugh eloquently said that they're America's team. So obviously, I have to stick with that.
The virtues are there for Michigan. That's
Yeah,
why
it's
America
for
loves them.
America. Number 4, just making the playoff is the Cincinnati Reds. I think the Reds have a good roster this year. Ellie De La Cruz, Matt McClain, and the boys, they're going to be ready to play for this playoff. And number 5, just outside of the bubble, or just on the bubble, I should say, is Ohio State.
No, that'd be outside the bubble.
Outside the bubble. They're on the bubble, right? Isn't it on the bubble means they're outside? That's right? I don't know. But we're going to put Ohio State number 5. They haven't really had a good win this year. So we'll see if they can beat Michigan. Finally, it seems like they haven't beat them in 25 years. But if they can get it done, then maybe they jump the Cincinnati Reds. We'll have to see, though.
God, how long has it been since Ohio State's beat Michigan?
It's been like 10
2 years. 2 years.
I think it's been longer than that, Tom.
No, it hasn't.
It hasn't.
25
did they
years.
play in 2020?
Oh, that's right. Michigan canceled the game because of COVID.
So since we've
They
heard
played all their other games, but they canceled that game.
is that the real reason
Oh,
that
my
Michigan
God.
can't?
Yes,
Ohio
that's
State
the reason
can't
they get-
beat-
yes.
Well, is that the reason that Ohio State can't beat Michigan? Ever since COVID-19 has been a thing, Ohio State has not been able to beat Michigan.
Well, maybe Michigan stole the signs from the Wuhan lab.
I knew the Wuhan thing was
got-
going to come
and
up.
somehow, some way have taken a distinct advantage in this operation.
Hey, there you go. There you
But,
go.
but don't say it publicly that it came from China. Don't say that. All right.
Politics.
Politics.
All right, no, I left it alone. I
I don't think you did. I don't think you did.
Well, kind of. All right. Top 5. I take this stuff seriously. These guys don't.
So do we.
All right. Georgia, I've said all along, number 1. Number 2, Ohio State. Michigan looks great. I mean, they do. Well, we'll see what's going to happen there. They look great. I have Washington, however, based on what we talked about earlier, ahead of Florida State. So that would mean Georgia v. Washington, round 2, Ohio State v. TTUN in a second matchup for a national college semifinal. Yeah, I mean, make no mistake about it. Whether you like Ohio State, don't like them, like Michigan, don't like them, America's team, all this stuff, make no doubt about it. At the end of the day, if you run ABC, you want to see Ohio State play Michigan for the national championship game because the ratings would break every rating there has ever been for a college football playoff game.
What a gamble.
With all the drama that would be. Can you imagine that?
What a gamble that would be if the college football playoff just said, all right, none of these other teams matter. We're going to pair an SEC team with a Big Ten team and an SEC with a Big Ten team. And we're like, all right, hopefully we get Ohio State versus Michigan, and then it's Alabama, Georgia again. And we're just like, shit.
Jordan says, I think Ohio State's losing streak in the big game coincides with Ryan Day's use of beard dye.
He does dye that thing, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Must.
That thing's dark.
It must. He must. Okay. Casey, are you ready? Oh, we got to do the pro real quick.
Yep, we got to do
All
pro.
right, we start again with Mr. Mouse.
That's right, Tom. So listen,
Mr. Mouse.
If you don't
Mouse
have
man.
the top 4 teams that I have, you can have them in any order. I really don't care. But if you don't have those top 4 teams, then you're on crack or something, because those are by far the top 4 teams in the NFL. The Kansas City Chiefs, everyone wants to belittle them. I know they just had a bad loss against the Broncos, but they came back and beat the Dolphins. They've won 7 of their last 8 games. The Ravens, up until, I still don't understand how they lost that game against the Browns, but they've got the best point differential in the NFL. No one's playing better football than them other than the last half that they played against the Cleveland Browns. The Philadelphia Eagles, listen, I feel like they're kind of going under the radar. I really do, because
Well, they're under the radar for you. They're 8-1 and they're in 3rd.
well, yeah, they play in an inferior conference, so that's why.
Yeah.
Although you do notice that I have 3 NFC teams in my top 5, which almost broke every rule that I have. But I think that they're just a damn good team. They do everything so well. Jalen Hurts can win the big one. And then the 49ers come back and they get off the bye, off 3 straight losses, and they beat the pulp out of the Jags, who I had in my top 5 last week. Now, when you're looking at the top 5, I think everyone should have those 4 teams in their top 4. Who can you put for the top 5? I thought about the Browns, the Dolphins, who I don't believe in, the Jags,
Right.
they just look terrible. And the only team that felt right putting in there was the Dallas Cowboys, coming off a big win. I still am not a huge believer in the Dallas Cowboys. I still think that when push comes to shove and they play a good team, they're just not gonna show. They're not gonna be able to win that one, because that's what they've proven to me over the past few years. But at this very moment, I think they're the 5th best team in the NFL.
Okay. All right.
fair.
All right, Elliot, where
Let's
are
see
you?
mine.
Where are you? That's a good one.
All right, so we got the Eagles number 1. Obviously, they have the best record in the NFL. They've lost 1 game, so not a whole lot to say there. The Chiefs are number 2.
Yep.
Listen, Patrick Mahomes is the real deal. I don't care what their offense does. The Chiefs are damn good. Not to mention the atrocity that is the AFC West is coming. I guess the AFC West is kind of
Yeah, they have 3 teams over 500.
coming together now. That's pretty wild. So it's a tough division, as Ray just said. And then we have the Ravens. They're in the 3rd spot. So Ravens are damn good. I don't even count Sunday's loss to the Browns. Don't even count it because they don't have Deshaun Watson anymore. So it's kind of null and voids that. The 49ers, number 4, they're still going to make a Super Bowl. I would bet my life on it. I would bet my life that the 49ers are in the Super Bowl playing that game.
Wow, a big statement there, buddy.
They'd have to beat the number 1 team in your power rankings.
Yeah, but this is the power rankings based on this week. It's not based on what I think will happen. So obviously, number 5, that would be the Giants if they had Eli Manning. Because if they had Eli Manning, they'd be significantly better than Tony Soprano's son, Danny DeVito, and that's who they have running out there every week. I don't know if you've seen that guy's dad. He looks like Tony Soprano.
He does?
Daniel Jones's dad?
No, Danny DeVito.
Right.
Their quarterback, Danny DeVito's quarterback. He's been horrible. He's been one of the worst quarterbacks in the history of the sport. But the good news is he looks like Danny DeVito, or he looks like, sorry, not Danny DeVito. He looks like Tony Soprano's son.
So he might have something to fall back on if football doesn't
That's
work
right.
out.
That's right. Sopranos too. Come check it out. Did they live or did they die at the end? We'll never know. But you will in Sopranos.
Are they
going to
make a movie about that or no?
Well, they made a prequel. Using.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm saying, well, they can't. What am I talking about?
Well,
The lead actor died.
Well, they could, because they could just have him die. Because then it would make sense.
But then it would take away. It wouldn't be the same.
It wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be the same.
He was the man.
He was the man.
I mean, it'd be like taking out the main guy in Peaky Blinders. Well, they took out. Well, we think they took out Jax in Sons of Anarchy.
Yes.
So, all right, Casey.
We got your top
I know
5.
that. Huh? Let's just run it up there because I want to get to your stink list. A lot of people in the chat are wondering what is going. All right, I got the Eagles number 1. They got 1 loss. End of story. Chiefs are still the best team in the AFC. I think the Niners are getting back to full strength, and they proved what you can do when they get it going. I mean, they bludgeoned Reed Mouse's Jaguars. The Ravens at number 4. And look, again, I prefaced a minute ago, and I'm going to say it again. All right, I am basing this on what has happened so far. We just learned today that Deshaun Watson is out for the year, okay? So that number 5 choice of the Brownies is subject to change. But as of today, I think they deserve to be in the top 5. And without further ado, that brings us, speaking of the Cleveland Browns, among all the others. Casey, we ought to have an intro for this, some kind of musical intro. Well, I know we have a graphic intro, but I mean a musical intro.
Yeah, I need to do a better job at coming up with some of the music for our stuff. But this time I don't know where I put it.
Oh my God! The show started today.
There we
the
go.
show started today.
That was on me.
By no sound.
That was on me.
No Joe Burrow. Actually, the head of the stink list should be this show today.
Oh, Tom, come on.
Go ahead.
Come on now, Tom.
Take it away.
This
Sometimes you got to look yourself in the mirror and call it like it is.
That's
Go
right.
ahead.
That's actually fair.
That's right, Tom. This show's been a disaster.
Well, yeah.
From start to finish.
Yeah.
Well, as we do every week now, I reveal the second to bottom part of the tier list and just keep moving on up. Cardinals got a solid win. Same with the Denver Broncos, so they slide up. And then now the Buccaneers, after handling their business, are now leading the nauseating column. Again, this is the list of guys that are just – their season's probably already done, but they're just hanging around, having a good time. Just no expectations for these guys going forward. Then we have this list here, the stench list. These guys are frisky. They have a chance to make some noise. Bills leading the charge right now. They dropped a horrible loss because they're just unorganized. And it's a consistent factor for them that they're just going to lose close games from ridiculous matters like
and fired their offensive coordinator yesterday.
Yeah, so they have to lead the list. The Vikings are moving up quite a bit, though, in all honesty. With Josh Dobbs, they still look like they're a legit team, can make a push
to
make
stench
a wild card.
off of them.
Yeah, they moved from nauseating to stench.
Okay,
yeah.
All right.
And let's keep moving forward to the stink part of this list. These 3 teams, there's just something off about them. There's like one thing that's just critically missing, and if they can get it fixed, they probably move up, but they just stink. They just have a little smell to them, and you want that stink out of your room. Like, you don't really want to deal with it, so you just
like a bad pair of shoes.
Yeah, you just don't know what to do with them.
Around.
Like, you need those shoes in order to function, to do some of those things, but
put them outside when you go to bed at night.
Right. That's right.
Right, out on the porch.
And then we go to the odorless category. These 4 teams,
Whoa.
they are pretty darn good. I think they're going to make it to the playoffs. I think that that they are in a groove. I think the Bengals took a step back. They were all the way up at exquisite. I wasn't going to put them at stink because they almost won the football game. I mean, they are one drop away from winning that football game. Texans, they move up because I think they proved a lot. They played really, really good against a Super Bowl contending team, a team that wants to win their division, and they have been lights out for a couple weeks now. I'm going to give them their respect. Miami, number 1 offense in the league. Dallas, they love to get after the quarterback. They love blowing out really bad teams. They almost beat the Eagles, and I think it's fair for them to be right on the edge of the fresh category, which these 3 teams, they shoe in for the playoffs more than likely. They either are in really bad divisions or their just team is really, really good. They have a really good roster and keep winning games. Even with injury, even when things look bleak.
Okay, but we're missing some teams.
And we're still missing some teams. We're going to talk about the exquisite category. These are the 2 teams that whoever wins against each other, they play each other late down the stretch of the season, I think will probably end up being in their Super Bowl for their conference. It's either going to be the Eagles or the 49ers. And I don't think it's that close. I don't think the Lions can touch them. I don't think the Cowboys, I know they almost beat the Eagles, but I think there's a reason why they lost, and that's inevitably because They have a really bad quarterback when it comes to crunch time, and the rest of the NFC is pretty lame. So without further ado, we got to talk about the putrid list, which those 4 teams made it there last week. The Giants, Washington, Patriots, Panthers, they're completely out of it. The Browns, they moved down all the way to putrid. I was going to move them, Tom. I was going to move them up. But with the news about Deshaun Watson, there's just no hope. And I honestly feel bad for doing this. I feel bad for the Browns fans because they had a glimmer of hope. They beat their big brother, the Baltimore Ravens. And what happens? They lose their quarterback for the year. They lose the guy that threw 14 straight complete passes for 5 yards each pass. Man, that was such a great comeback. He was starting to come into his own MVP-type form, and he's out. Such a shame for the Cleveland Browns. They're at the bottom of the putrid list, Tom.
Okay.
Do you agree with that list, Tom?
What's that?
Do you agree with
Well, I
it?
agree with almost all of it. I mean, we know the shtick there at the end with the Brownies. But I got to tell you, other than that, not too bad. I think the Bengals are better than the Steelers, but right now I'd have to put both the Steelers and the Jags ahead of the Bengals.
I would agree.
Season end of the day, both of them would be in the playoffs. Bengals would not.
I mean,
it's not about the
standings up there. We can do standings.
Yeah, it's not standings.
I
It's
understand.
about
This is
how
more of
they-
an eye test, a feel thing for Casey.
It's about who stinks worse.
Yeah, it's
What's
not
that?
an eye test.
It's
a
not about
nose
who's better.
test.
It's about who
a nose
stinks.
test.
Who has a smell.
get it. Although I don't understand the infatuation with you guys and so many others of always beating down Cleveland.
Oh, I
This
told
is
you, Tom.
our brethren in the Buckeye State.
I wasn't going to put them down all the way
This
at
is
the
our
bottom.
brethren.
I wasn't going to put
They
them
are
at the bottom.
Buckeyes up there.
Well, they call us Kentucky, so
Yeah, I don't like that.
they don't like us.
I was going to have him up a lot higher, Tom. I just, with the news about Deshaun Watson, there's no way in the world
That's fair.
I was going to put them any higher than putrid.
I
Their
said it's
season's
fair.
Where do you
basically
think they would've-
over.
I mean, Haro here in the chat. Tom is a Bengal hater. That is just it's absolutely ludicrous. Ludicrous.
A lot of people on X.com are saying you're a Bengal hater, Tom. How do you?
They're saying that on X.com.
That's what I'm seeing on X.com. How do you refute
I'm
this?
probably blocked from most of the people that write that stuff.
Tom, I don't know if you've seen. I know you know one of the primetime games this week. Obviously, it's Bengals versus Ravens tomorrow,
Yes.
Thursday. Did you see how we end the primetime slate this week?
No.
Monday night in Arrowhead, Philadelphia Eagles versus
Yes.
the Kansas City
That's a
Chiefs.
big time game.
That's big time.
Get in price. You want to take a gander at what get in to Arrowhead cost?
Just get in, top row,
Yep, get in.
$250.
$343
Wow.
Okay.
just to get in there.
Okay.
Cost $80 to get into Bank Stadium, the bank tomorrow.
The bank.
Bank.
Yikes.
Yeah, Mr. Mo points out, I just don't sit around and cheerlead. I got a question for you. I thought about this yesterday, and I'm being totally serious. Made me think. I want you to just think about this for a second. No, I'm going to wait until Friday to ask this question. I'm going to wait until Friday.
Is it about the Bengals?
Yes, I'm going to give everybody a little rope.
Well,
A little rope, because I can tell you right now, and I'm just telling you ahead of time,
Well, does it?
they better look good on Thursday night. Because that rope, you ever seen when a cowboy is sitting there,
lassoing.
got a lot doing, and wham, and they
been to a
hit
rodeo?
that, they hit the steer, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden it's just like pow, off your feet, down you go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Big Go Skilson.
that's what's coming Friday. If this act doesn't get together,
So if they lose tomorrow,
I mean, well, it all depend on. Yeah, I said it depends on the body of work in the game. Okay, I mean, they go compete, ready to play right from the start. And I really believe the start of this game, and we'll get into a lot more tomorrow. The Bengals we've talked about on the first drive of the game. They've tied an NFL record. They have a touchdown in 5 straight games. Last done by the 2016 Atlanta Falcons, I think it was, Matt Ryan, the quarterback. The Ravens have bludgeoned teams in the opening quarter. For that matter, the opening half. When the Ravens lose, almost every time they lose, it is a collapse in the fourth quarter. You heard Mike Brennan talk about it earlier. One of the big topics in Baltimore this week is what happens to the run game in the second half when you have the lead. the play calling. They're like, why are we throwing the ball all the time when the other team needs to get the ball back and we throw incomplete? We throw incomplete. We throw incomplete. Clock stop, clock stop, clock stop. Other team gets the ball back, here they come. Now we do it all over again. I mean, the run game just vanishes for them. And it just doesn't, it makes you just kind of scratch your head like Harbaugh's a great coach. Now, he's not the offensive play caller, but he can overrule anything. Anything he wants, anytime. Any head coach can. Unless they're the play caller like we have here with the Bengals and Zach Taylor. But getting out to an early lead in this game is going to be critical for either team. And especially if the Bengals fall behind. Even though Baltimore's tended to fade late. And let's be honest, if you had to bet money, right? If you had to bet money on the Bengals or the Ravens in the last 7 or 8 minutes to win a game, I'm taking Burrow over Jackson.
100%.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Okay. But I don't like my chances if I'm behind with 7 minutes left in the go and Baltimore has the offense and now they can start to run the ball. I don't like my chances.
Tom, in the 2 most recent losses that the Ravens have, they have gotten outscored in the fourth quarter 30-7.
Yeah.
And they lost both by 1-score games.
Yeah. I mean, that's been their MO when they lose, is they lose late. Their last 7 losses, they've gone into the fourth quarter with a lead and blown the game. So, you know, you can say, well, why would the start be a big deal if the Bengals can finish strong? Hey, look, why not start fast, not go to sleep on the second and third and fourth series of the game, which we documented thanks to your good friend Austin Elmore yesterday.
That's right.
And Casey, somebody's got to step up in the receiving corps outside of Chase because Higgins ain't going to play.
That's right. That's right. I mean, I'm hoping that Charlie and Trenton Irwin can do something. I don't know if they've cleared Charlie yet, but Yoshi, he's hurt. I don't think he's going to be playing. Yeah, I know you don't like that China doll, right?
I didn't say it. You said it.
You said it, Casey.
But, yeah, Jamar Chase cannot be the only guy doing something.
Tyler Boyd had 110 receiving yards last week.
I know, but a
One
lot
was
of that
on
came
60 yards, but Jamar Chase had a 70-yard reception too.
Yeah, again, they need to be more consistent. They need to show out early and, you know, not rely on the big flashy plays. They got to be highly efficient in order to keep the ball away from the Ravens. So then they can't do the same thing to us.
Right.
So
Let me ask you this, because I've been thinking about this. If this season goes south, they lose on Thursday and they miss the postseason, right? Obviously, this would be a big if. There's a lot of season left to play. So if they lose to the Ravens, it by no means ends their season, but it puts you certainly on that track.
Right.
Ends the division, right?
Well, it ends the division.
If the Bengals miss the playoffs this year, would that be the end of Zach Taylor?
Nope.
No way.
Nope.
No, not even a little bit.
Not saying that
Not
it
even a little
shouldn't
bit.
be. I'm just telling you that they're not going to fire Zach
No.
Taylor. I mean, yeah. I mean, firing Zach Taylor this year is just as likely as us talking about the Bengals trading at the trade deadline. Both those things not going to happen. It would take legitimately a disaster of a year for Zach Taylor to be fired. If he meanders around 500 for the next 3 years, he's still our coach. He would legitimately have to go.
That's not going to happen.
My thing is
That's not going to happen.
and again, I know
3 years at 500 with Joe Burrow under a $250 million contract. Now he's 30 years old. No, 500 ain't going to cut it. I'm with you about this year. If they don't make the playoffs, there's no way they're letting him go. No way. And you know what? Shouldn't. Based on just what has happened.
I agree they should not let him go.
But
I
now,
agree.
after next year, all bets are off. All bets are off. But, man, you know, you just look at this Bengals team this year and think where they might be next year as far as just straight-up personnel is concerned. And I know we're getting way ahead of ourselves. They've got a game tomorrow night. They've got a season this year. But how would the Bengals look without T. Higgins? How would the Bengals look without T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd? How will the Bengals look without T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and DJ Reader? How will they look without Joe Mixon? I got to tell you, boys, Those are all very, very real possibilities. All are free agents. Technically, they could tag Higgins, but they're not going to do it. They're not going to pay him $20 million next year.
No,
Elliot, do you think that they should fire Zach Taylor if they don't make the postseason?
Yeah, they should.
I don't think so.
They should fire Zach Taylor.
I like
If they don't,
continuity.
if they don't make this, if they don't make the postseason and they have a losing record, they should not. He should not be back.
Well, they kept Marvin Lewis for 10 years with a 500 record and never won a playoff game.
I get it, but this is completely different. This is nobody thought they'd change the name of the stadium. Nobody thought we'd pay a quarterback $270 million. I think Elizabeth Blackburn and everybody else they've got up there, it's a new direction for this franchise. If they miss the playoffs, when the stock for the Bengals has quite literally never been higher than it is right now, if they miss the postseason, and the fan base is calling for it, I'm not saying you have to listen to the fans' every wish. The fans are stupid, like myself. We're just silly, stupid, reactionary fans. But if you have Joe Burrow, if you have the weapons that we've had this season, with an offensive line that's, I think Tom said it ranks 6th in payroll across the National Football League. If you look at the talent on this roster and you miss the postseason, and even if you had a losing record, it would be a done deal for me. If you can't have a positive win differential in the NFL with this roster, there's no excuse for it. Injuries or no.
I'll tell you what. I agree with Elliot, but not the head coaching job. They would tell him, you got to go find another offensive coordinator.
I'm cool with that.
Which then maybe you're looking at Brian Callahan not being here anymore. And
or
then
you let Callahan call the plays.
Right, something like that, to that degree, where there's a major change in the way that the plays are called or the coaching staff. I also have another interesting take if we're going to be on the coaching for a second. Lou Anarumo, the way that he's coached his defense this year, I don't think we'll get another job. I mean, he's bottom of the league in yards at the current moment.
Yeah, the 31st in the league. Right?
Yeah, well, let's see on that.
But the idea of there not being any that they're gonna just cut bait after this year, I just don't think that's gonna happen. They're gonna have more continuity now more than ever.
I think so many franchises have hurt them and shot themselves in the foot by ruining their continuity. Zach Taylor, for all of his faults, and there's plenty of them, we all know it. But at the same jest, took this team to the Super Bowl, took this team to the AFC Championship game. I'm not willing to cut bait just because they didn't make the postseason one year. Now, like Tom said, if it's 2 years in a row, if they don't make it this year and next year, then sure. Whatever. Yeah, let's go in a new direction. But after this year, if they don't make the postseason, after one bad year and the true Joe Burrow era, then no.
But here's the difference. The Bengals seemingly appear to be similar to the Chiefs in that they're very successful, right? Obviously, the Chiefs are nowhere near the stratosphere in the terms of they've won several Super Bowls. But you think of the Bengals and the Chiefs, top of the class, top of the division, top of the conference. As I find my words here, but my point is, if the Chiefs were to miss the postseason, obviously nobody would fire Andy Reid. But the reason they won't do that is because they'll never miss the postseason.
But here's the thing about Andy Reid is, Andy Reid, when he got to Kansas City, people forget this. He was Marvin Lewis over there. They made the postseason like 5 of 6 years and didn't win a game.
It's fair.
And they didn't call for his head. They get Patrick Mahomes, and they start winning games left and right. So continuity is so important in the NFL, and I don't think enough people recognize that. Once again, if it's 2 consecutive years of bad football, then the continuity is that this team can't get it done. That's the continuity. Then you cut bait. When there's continuity that this team can go to the AFC Championship game, when the continuity is this team can be a couple plays away from winning the Super Bowl, you keep that continuity going, not just because of one bad year. You roll it for at least another year.
Well,
You've got to see what Zach Taylor
I think what would
has.
happen is, for sure, is that there would be a change in play calling. I think
Correct.
you'd
Cool.
have
That's
to
fine.
pacify.
That's the change.
You'd have to pacify the doubters with something.
Right.
And I mean, firing Brian Callahan. I mean, come on. It's not on Brian Callahan.
Right.
Come on. I mean, really.
Yeah, but it could fall on his shoulder
Well,
in that
could,
scenario.
and it tends to trickle down. It's like that nonsense with Ken Dorsey and they can't get 12 men on the field. I mean, their offense stunk, but they scored enough to win the game.
Right.
They scored enough to win the game. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, they can't get 12 guys on the field, and you're canning the offensive coordinator. It's like Penn State. They literally cannot find their tail with both hands in a big game for 10 years now. All under James Franklin. For 99% of the programs in America, winning 10 games and going to a New Year's Six bowl game is like an unbelievable achievement. And it is an unbelievable achievement. But not if you're the coach at Penn State. And what's he do? They face two of the best defenses in the country in Ohio State and Michigan in the last 4 weeks. It's almost impossible to look worse on offense than they looked. I mean, the Drew Aller kid, first year as a starter, 5-star recruit out of Ohio, ironically. It was ironic when Ohio State played Penn State, the Ohio State quarterback was from Pennsylvania, and the Penn State quarterback was from Ohio. But, I mean, he looked like the proverbial deer in the headlights. He couldn't do anything. He threw for less than 70 yards. And against Ohio State, they were 0 for their first 15 on third down. And what's James Franklin do? He fires the offensive coordinator.
But you think the Bengals would change their play calling? You would think Zach Taylor loses play calling?
I think somebody would go and say, hey, look.
I don't think that happens.
I'm not saying I'm right on that. I'm just saying you're going to have to do something.
The fans.
Because I tell you, where the Bengals lost me, and I loved Marvin Lewis. I just think, he stood for all the right things. He did it the right way. I wish he would have won playoff games and that kind of thing. But look, the BS that he put up with when he took over that franchise to clean up what was the biggest single mess in maybe in football history was that mess of the 1990s down at Paycor Stadium. Mm-hmm. They were awful. They had some great players, but they were every year. I mean, through the David Shula days and all that. Marvin comes in, he builds a roster, he evaluates talent, and here we go. Now, he had some guys that stepped over the line, but he gets them to the playoffs. They have a good draft with Dalton and A.J. Green and all that. They get to the playoffs or compete to get there virtually every year. But then there came a point where they had the one really bad year with that group, and they brought Marvin back. They lost me on that one.
Yeah.
I don't think the fan base is going to be lost if they don't make the playoffs this year. But they are going to start asking enough questions as to the ones you asked. With this roster, with these offensive weapons, something on the offensive side of the ball is going to have to change. And I think it's going to be play calling.
Jolly asked in the chat, do you think it's weird that we didn't lose a single coordinator after going back-to-back AFC championship games?
I think it's very weird. I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl, and both of their coordinators were gone. I mean, lost the Super Bowl. Forgive me, lost to Kansas City. But, lost their coordinators to Arizona and Indianapolis.
Have the Chiefs lost a coordinator?
Well, Bieniemy left on his own.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I'm saying, they haven't lost a
no, but their defensive coordinators had his shot. Spagnuolo.
Okay.
At being a head coach. Not say he shouldn't, get another chance. Maybe he should, because I think guys can get a chance at a very young age and not be ready for the job. I feel terrible for the guy down at Mississippi State that got fired. And I know nobody around here cares, but I feel terrible for the guy. I mean, he's around there. He's Mike Leach's guy. He's one of the top assistants in the country. Mike Leach dies. They make him the head coach. They're going to be 4-6 or whatever it is. And it's his first year. Bam. Canned 2 days ago.
Continuity.
In his 30s. Okay, you have a top 5
Correct.
Today. Am I right or wrong?
You do.
All right, no musical intro on this either, right?
No
intro.
We got to start getting to work on this stuff.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I opened it up to X.com. We talked about this earlier in the show. I said, listen, I do a top 5 every Wednesday. I said, what do you guys want this top 5 to be? I put out there, do you want it to be America's team? Do you want it to be a compilation of Drew Sample's best plays, a lot of blocks in that top 5 there would be? Or do you want to see the top 5 things about the city of Baltimore? You guys have chosen the city of Baltimore. So without further ado, here's our top 5.
All right, I can't wait to see it because there's a lot of great things about
Correct.
the city of Baltimore.
Correct.
And its history. A lot.
Oh, yeah.
I hope some of them show up.
I hope so, too.
Founded 295 years ago in 1729, so long-standing city. So number 5 coming in is the food of Baltimore, and what's famous is their crab cakes. You go to Maryland, they're fantastic, right? You get that Old Bay seasoning on them.
Unreal.
They're really, if you haven't been to Maryland, if you haven't had a good crab cake from there, absolutely fantastic. You might be asking me, Reed, what could be better than the crab cakes from Maryland and Baltimore? Well, that's a good answer. Number 4, coming in, is one of the best ballparks in Major League Baseball. That's Camden Yards. Noted for kind of starting this trend of these new open ballparks, really, since Camden Yards had opened.
It's a beautiful ballpark.
Every ballpark has
Yes,
kind
it
of
is.
modeled itself after Camden Yards. That's why they all look kind of similar now,
Yep.
all the new ones.
You're right. They were the trendsetter.
They were, and what they did to the left field wall was kind of crazy this past year, but still a beautiful, beautiful park, and that's why it comes in at number 4. Still plenty of beautiful things about the city of Baltimore. One is maybe what it's best known for, and that is one of the best TV shows of all time, The Wire.
No doubt.
It's a fantastic
Which is
show.
a foreshadowing of the days now in Baltimore. Please continue.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Go ahead.
It is.
That is a big-time show.
It's Baltimore.
Some say the best of all time.
Correct. It's Baltimore, Tom. The gods will not save you. Shit. Chain of command, McNulty, all those fun little sayings from the Wire, but that comes in at number 3. So, crab cakes, Camden Yards, The Wire. People might be asking, what else is there about the city of Baltimore? Are you going to put in Edgar Allan Poe? No, none of that.
Oh, man.
But
That's big-time
What-
name there.
number 2 coming in here is what maybe I most love about it. It's not number 1 on today's list, but it's what I most love. It's the athletes that play there, stand-up guys. And I'm going to highlight 2 in particular. Ray Lewis and Steve Smith. When you think about stand-up guys in the National Football League, you think of these 2 guys. They stand for everything good that is about sportsmanship and athletics, played the game the right way, and then outside of the stadium, where we're just stand-up citizens. So Ray Lewis and Steve Smith
Oh,
coming
my
in
gosh.
at number 2. So number 1, so Tom, when you think of Cincinnati, when you think of cities in general, you think, how can you have fun, right? What can you do to have fun? How
Right.
can you enjoy yourself in a city? So like Cincinnati, we have amusement parks, right? We have Kings Island.
Yep.
You go down to Orlando, plenty of amusement parks, a lot of places to have fun, really just enjoy yourself. In Baltimore, they don't have amusement parks. So how can you get the blood pumping, like riding down
Sure.
a roller coaster, really get it going?
Sure.
What they have is fearing for your life. When you go to Baltimore,
Oh, boy.
you fear for your life. That's how you get your blood pumping. You just go there, and if you make it out alive, that's the enjoyment. That's the fun you have at Baltimore. You go there, you don't know if he's coming home. That's why you never buy a round-trip ticket to Baltimore, because you might just be wasting money. So buy a one-way ticket there. When it's time to go home, you buy another ticket, and maybe you get to go home. But that's number 1, fearing for your life at
That's
Baltimore.
good.
Cities with the biggest homicide rate, and that's based on per 100,000. Baltimore comes in number 2 behind Atlanta.
Ooh, I thought St. Louis would be up
St. Louis is right there. But it's interesting to note that Cincinnati, our hometown, while we have our fair share of problems, and make no mistake, we do,
there. Correct.
Cincinnati is not on the top 45.
How
Is
about
Chicago
that?
up there?
What?
Is Chicago in the top 10?
Oh,
that a-
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Are they? Are they?
Yeah. Yeah, they're 7th.
Ah, shoot.
Yeah, they're 7th. Detroit, number 3.
And I know Reed. So Reed, what was the number 1 there?
Fearing for your life.
Okay, can I give you an honorable mention?
Yeah.
My honorable mention is the aquarium. I think it's really good. I went to the aquarium with my dad. We went to Camden Yards. We had a big trip. We went to Baltimore. We went to D.C. all around that area. So I love the aquarium. I thought the aquarium had some really cool fish.
Nice.
Okay.
There you go.
Honorable mention.
All right, do we have a cherry on top today?
We do, Tom.
Wow.
We do, and this one's brought in from the paparazzi that we have here at Chatterbox
We have
Studio.
paparazzi?
We do. We have this image here that was that was leaked. It's Elliot with a who is that, Elliot?
I mean, son of a bitch.
Who is that, Elliot?
Who is that, Elliot?
I mean, this is a
Why,
show.
why
where
is this
wondering-
getting pub?
Who is that?
Why is
Elliot?
this getting pub? Get it off. Are you okay?
I'm fine, Tom. I heard them laughing over there in the other room. I listen. I'm happy for them. They had a funny little joke there. They're taking pictures of me. It started with Reed. It trickled down to Casey.
Started with me. What did
Quitter
I
Paul,
do?
Quitter Paul got
What
in
did
on
I
it.
do?
Then Everett started getting it. Then Trace and Sean over there in their little hideout over there. Everybody started doing it to me, and that's fine. So I have no words.
We should not be putting people on the show without their approval.
That's right, Tom. That's right. I agree with Tom 100%.
Yes. So I am sorry for whomever that is.
I am also sorry.
I
for them.
apologize profusely.
Tom, give this show a grade.
A grade?
Yes.
It was already at a D. It just went to a D minus.
I give it an F.
You know the best part, Tom? We get to try again tomorrow.
Try again tomorrow. Tomorrow's big day. Bengalis v. Baltimore. We are excited about that. Hey, you know who's going to join us tomorrow is in Ravens. Our buddy from
Awesome.
Baltimore. Yeah. He
Love
was
that.
flying today. Lives down in Florida. He's like the Zim Hude for the for the Ravens. Great dude. Really like this guy a lot. And we got to get Zim on. I'm getting Zim on Friday. I know he'll be at that game tomorrow night because he lives over in D.C.
Yeah, he's from around
We'll get him on Friday. All right, but tomorrow we got the game, but lots going on. So I want to make sure I got all the programming covered here. We have box lunch for members coming up right now, correct? We have Casey, your show, which begins at what time?
7:30.
Along with JT, 7:30, Chatterbox Sports. And then we have Nick Kirby and Trace Fowler on Chatterbox Reds at 9:30. All right, busy day.
If you go on the videos page of our YouTube channel, you'll see a preview from Kyle Caskey. You can watch
that's right.
Whenever.
Forgive me.
You can watch that whenever.
Yep, absolutely. All right, everybody, we thank you so much for joining us. We apologize for all this around here. Actually, I apologize.
Yeah, I'll apologize too, Tom.
Okay.
The real men in the room are
Real
going to
men
take the blame for
understand.
this and
That's
apologize.
right.
I apologize.
The way it started, the way it ended.
That's right.
Right?
Now,
That's
in
right.
defense of the Spectrum outage, Tom, I don't know if you saw this, but Spectrum had a company-wide outage right when we started the show. So that's why we went off the air for a couple of minutes.
Well, naturally. Okay. Box lunch coming up right now. Have a great day. Here we go. Box lunch.
I must admit, I didn't think much of this show the first time I laid eyes on it. Seemed like a bunch of stiffs wasting nice
the worst
microphones.
trade of all time happened back in 1803. Go ahead. Napoleon Bonaparte traded the Louisiana Purchase for $3 million. Napoleon, what happened? Half the country.